Who in the dev team thought that this was a good idea? Hey guys, Justin here. Now in this video I'm talking about one of the most overhated weapons in the game, one of the most justifiably hated weapons in my opinion, the FG42. I'm also going to be, of course, touching the FG42 Mark II as well, for good measure as well. So why is this weapon so hated? Is it justifiably hated? And what could be done to change this weapon? So to start off, let's talk about the FG, how it's unlocked. Now, I'm going to talk about the Normandy unlocked. It is in Berlin. I believe it's around the same levels. Well, the FG42 is the same level, but the FG42-2 is max level at the moment. So I'll start with the FG42-2. This is actually a sniper weapon. It can only be used by snipers. And it's unlocked at level 21 with the Sniper 3 squad. And the regular one is unlocked here, which is level 23. It's with the Engineer 2 squads, and yeah, just this one of course has the advantage of being able to be used by not just engineers, but it can also be used by riflemen, it can be used by bombers, it can be used by mortarmen for the 2 people who use them, it can be used by radio operators, and it can also be used by flamethrowers. So more usability here, so more more versatility here. It's kind of the Americans at the same time, just the Allies at the same time, they get the M1 Garand with a scope and the M2 carbine, which are 2 completely different weapons to the FG42. In terms of stats, the FG42-2 comes with 12 hit damage over a long distance, 680 to 750 shots a minute, a reload time of 2.6 seconds, 40 vertical recoil, 10 horizontal recoil, a 20 round magazine, and of course can fire in both semi and full auto. The rank and file FG42 has similar stats, same damage, same shots, same load time, although the animation is different, same magazine, same full auto, semi-auto, but the only difference is the vertical recoil and the horizontal recoil are actually reduced with the Mark II. As you can see here, it's 47 and 20, whereas with the Mark II it was 40 and 10. So there is some difference between the two. Now, is there any... Now, is this major? Not really, so I'm just going to be still addressing the rifles as the exact same weapon. So with those out of the way, why is this weapon so hated? Well, I'm just going to show a few clips on screen. I'm going to show this montage here, and you can just see why. So as you can see from the clips and of course the video I'm showing now, this thing is insanely powerful. Now, obviously of course I showed some of the better clips from that here, but this is I'm just gonna continue to play the whole game for the rest of this. So basically I'm just gonna explain here why it's so overpowered. Now, the problem is what it's up against. The FG42-2, for example, is up against the M1 Garand. Now, the Garand, of course, is a powerful weapon. Don't get me wrong, I love the Garand. But come on. The Mark II FG42 is a much more superior weapon to the Garand. The same goes with the FG, now, the base FG. Now, with the Americans, they get the M2 carbine, which is a really good weapon. People who say it's bad don't know how to use it. But, like I said, people don't know how to use it, and they compare it to the FG. The FG is a light machine gun, hence why most people don't like it. whereas the M2 is a carbine. So really they're two different types of weapons with two different uses. The M2 carbine is really good at close range, whereas the FG is much better at medium to long range. Unfortunately, most Enlisted play is medium to long range engagements, and the FG42 is still pretty powerful at close range, as you can see in this video. This also brings into the question of you can do some incredibly arseholey things with the FG42. This squad is probably the antithesis of why the FG42 is so hated. This is essentially 8 LMGs in one squad. Like, no other weapon could be able to do this other than the FGs. Now, obviously, of course, if this was a sniper or just a regular trooper, you know, it would just be another FG, and obviously, of course, I'm using the G43 chambered for Kurtz. But, again, this just kind of shows how overpowered this can be. It's basically, you can get 9 FG42s in the same squad if you're using these. Now, of course, you can see here I'm using, of course, AT gunner, engineer, machine gunner, and a lot of riflemen. But, you know, I could have done this with 2 squads, because you can get 2 rifle squads in Normandy. As well as, if you can see here, I'm just stacking these squads with FGs. Obviously, of course, you know, it's more of a... And I'm not saying that the FG, of course, is kind of balanced, because if I show here, if I run the rifles here, no, they're 3 silver orders, so that's incredibly expensive still, but because of the weapon delivery here, you can still get them. You can see here, FG42 and FG42-2 are still available here. So if you have 100 orders like me, you can just literally spend hundreds of orders to see how much you can get from this. The other reason why the FG is so hated, especially in Normandy, is there's no real counter to it. Like, with every other weapon in the game which is powerful, there's at least somewhat of a counter to it. Like, for example, the MG34, the BAR does a different niche, and it does it just as well as the MG42 does its niche, or the MG34 does its niche. The FG, though, you're comparing it to the M1 Garand, which, yeah, it's a fine weapon, but it's nowhere near the caliber of the FG42 Mark II. And the FG42, like, yeah, as much as I say that the M2 carbine is powerful, it doesn't hold a candle to the FG42. This thing is actually borderline dirty, so it's generally just a very annoying weapon to go up against, and a very annoying weapon. And the thing is as well, the weapon is incredibly powerful. Like, you see in the clip, I'm literally dominating bots. Again, it's just bots, but this happens even in pubs. You can literally go into pubs and pub stomp with these things. This thing is a very overpowered weapon. Now, that being said, can this weapon be nerfed? Well, like I said, there's a lot of hatred to the FG for justifiable reasons. It's really overpowered. There's no real counter to it. So, really, what could be done to nerf it? Now, the main thing most people say is just, you know, give it, make it so it's unusable. This is not a good solution to anything, in my opinion, as it'll just make people, you know, it'll just make half the fan base angry, as it'll make the people who have invested a lot in the FG basically just feel annoyed and hated, and they'll hate people who ask for the nerfs. It'll also mean that that people are just going to be spamming G43s again, and really, in a comparison, the M2 is probably just as powerful as is much more powerful in close range than the G43, and if you're going to pull it like that, it'll make the Allies' close range play, which is already absurdly powerful, even more absurdly powerful, because the Axis can't really compete now if the FG gets nerfed. The second thing, which I've been hearing a lot about, is limiting the FG, making it so that you can only have 2 or 3 per squad. Now, obviously, of course, this would be historically accurate since the FG was only used by Fallschirmjägers, but I think this one would actually be a better nerf than just a flat nerf. Now, obviously, of course, the FG42-2 in Normandy is slightly nerfed. It's slightly like this already, since you can only use it with snipers. But the 42, the regular 42, isn't. if this was only like an engineer weapon, like similar to the grenade launchers, then this could be then that could be a decent nerf, but I don't know. The third and final one is an American alternative. Now, the American alternative is the Johnson LMG. Now, this one would basically be a direct counter to the FG, but the problem is, with the FG, of course, it'll be level 23, whereas with the Johnson, it will probably be about level 33, if not higher. Maybe even level 35 or something like that. Maybe even not even in the next update. Maybe they'll wait for longer, and then they will release the Johnson. Now, that will still tip the scales very ruthlessly in favour of the FG. Now, obviously, of course, the FG is still going to be a dirty, powerful weapon, no matter if they add the Johnson or not. And that would just be more like, hey, the Americans have an option as well, so you don't have to complain about the FG42 being so OP now. But I think that one probably would be the better option. Anyways, I'm going to end this video here. The FG42, as fun as the weapon is, it's insanely overpowered. And even I admit that this thing should receive some kind of nerf, or the Americans should receive some kind of advantage over, like, a version of the weapon, such as the Johnson. Either that, or they should just make it so that the FG42 cannot be used by every single fucking soldier, because, let's face it, this thing can be borderline frustrating to go against. Anyways, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you have, and I'll see you guys in the next one.